short term, it might feel really good. As you say, if it wasn't for my parents, who didn't bring me up in Sikhi, if it wasn't for my friendship circle that drink alcohol every Friday, they drag me out, whatever it is we're doing, yeah, it's very easy to do that, right? We can either suffer with a good excuse, and some of these are really good excuses, right? Or we can just be happy, man. It's a little bit of hard work we've got to do a bit of work, right? But you'll be your own witness right now. We've just taken our mind, put our dhyan on the Guru. Put your hands up if you feel closer to Guru Sahib than you did an hour ago, genuinely. That's terrifying, that we're responsible for how we feel, right? What we choose to walk towards, who we choose to sit with, what we choose to listen to is a direct consequence of how we're going to feel. And that's terrifying because we've been taught that it's someone else's fault, that you deserve to feel that way. Come here, let me give you a hug. If that had happened to me, I'd be living in misery too. I say that that's just not true. That's not what our Guru says. What we're trying to show is that when we come into the Sangat, this is not just for fun. We can physically change our state. And rather than being told that, you can just recognize that yourself. We can't necessarily change what's happening to us, what's happened to us, what's been inflicted on us. Yeah, those are our circumstances. But we can choose where we're going to move from that. And then the Guru will, when they put their arm around you, they'll say, don't even think for a second that you were ever on your own. You were always in my house, and my house was always a home that I made inside you in the first place. We had this wonderful time together. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm very honoured to have this chance to share with you guys, which I don't take lightly. Today, we're looking inwardly. We went to camp. Obviously, you guys, this is the camp reunion, so I'm guessing most of you, some of you may not, but most of you came to the basics camp. Put your hands up if you went to the basics camp. So, those of you that were in my group, or those of you that know me, I don't like elbows. Elbows, basically, the body language of an elbow, when you do this, yeah, is that you're half in, yeah, and you don't really believe. So, later on, we're going to ask more introspective questions. There's a nice word, introspective. Everybody say introspective. Introspective. It's a nice word, isn't it? It plays with your mouth. Say introspective. So we're going to look inwardly, we're going to introspect, we're going to look inwardly. And so when we ask these questions, more important questions, not necessarily did you go to basics camp, but when you answer a question like this, you're basically telling yourself that you're not sure. And really you're not answering questions to me. We're looking to make an exploration, to make progress within our own journey. Huh? So when you have an opportunity to commit, to show a bit of conviction, to show a bit of man, to give yourself a bit of a push forward, yeah, put your hand up fully and engage. Or stay deed and stay here, but don't be half in, half out. Half in doesn't really get you very far. And so we went to camp, and then who felt maybe 10 days later, 15 days later, things started to dwindle, the momentum of what you experienced that you thought would always be the same. You're going to the local Guru card and you're feeling that actually things aren't quite the way that they were at camp. Who feels that way? That you need a bit of a, and then you heard about the reunion. It's like, yo, I need to go to the reunion. I need to get that feeling back, that ras, huh? So I've been there, and I remember going to my first camp. I remember being there as a monarch, going to my first camp, and experiencing such a feeling that the only fear that was inside, I can actually honestly say this to you, being outside the Darbar, trembling, concerned, the concern that I had in my heart was that Maharaj, I don't want this feeling to ever go. Now I've experienced this Sangat, now that I've experienced being in this place, I don't want to ever be in a place where I don't feel that way. How can I go back to just garage music, Friday nights, Gordon's gin? How can I go back to that life? I'm scared that if that's all that's waiting for me, it's not going to fulfill me, right? And Guru Sahib gives us a teaching, Guru Arjan Dev Ji gives us a teaching. They say, Sarab Sukha Main Pa Liya Har Jai Vadana Koi. That I've had so much, I've experienced every aspect of this universe, because they're the creator of the universe, right? But they say Har Jai Vadana Koi. But nothing is going to compare to being in that experience of oneness when you're in the Sangat. And that sounds blissful, but when you've experienced it and you're on the edge of going back into the world, or you've been in the world for 2 weeks and you go back, it's actually worse. It's like, I wish I had never known, because now I'm back in the drudgery of it all. Now I'm back in the mundane grey of it all. Now I'm back with my supervisor at work. Now I'm back at uni and I'm having to deal with all these issues. It's like, if I had never known of that sweetness, yeah, then it would have just been not so bad. I was fine without knowing that you could have so much bliss. And that can be quite a bit of a shock, you know. You've got to roll with the punches, and sometimes you're up. People say things, you're up and you're down. You're like, I want to be down. After being up, I just want to stay in the clouds. So when I was asked, when I was grateful enough to have a chance to do this seva, I was thinking about how to approach this opportunity to share with you guys. And this came to my mind. I spoke to my older brother, Bhai Singh Ji, he gave me his blessings, that this would be an appropriate way to talk about this. So we begin this journey together. It's not been the same since camp. So with that background and that under sort of contextual understanding where we're going to go today, put your hands up if you felt a few moments since camp where you haven't been so bulletproof, you haven't been so invincible, and things have just gone back and you're like, oh man, yeah? So, okay, well then, in which case this talk today is for you. We're going to have some fun, we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to take an understanding that you're not, firstly, you're not on your own, but secondly, how do we approach that? Functional learning. I like functional learning. Functional learning means something that we can learn. It isn't just a date or a figure, something that will help us when tomorrow that day comes. We go hang about. I was at a talk when a man from East London came to enlighten the whole of the Midlands, yeah? And so that next time you feel that drudgery, it's like, I've got something from my Guru that will help me. Because that's the point. We come here, it's not a show, it's not a creative display. The point is we're supposed to have functional Sikhi stuff that we learn together with our family that we can take back into the world and go, I know what to do right now, I've been here, I've heard about that. So this is intended to be just that. We're going to go on a journey together, and then tomorrow or Wednesday next week when the rain's hitting the window, you've got an email come through, and maybe you're feeling that way again, that we can look back to what we're going to learn today, and then hopefully you guys will be like, yo, I know what to do right now. I know how to get back to that feeling, right? We're going to recite the Guru's mantra just 3 times, and we recite that from a place of shukranna, a place of thankfulness. But yo, Maharaj, thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for allowing me to have a chance to have this Sangat. If you always approach the opportunity of being Sangat from a place of gratitude, you'll always receive more. You'll always get it to go deeper, and you'll always take away some Sikhya, right? So everybody, your backs up super straight. If you can manage a smile on your face, that basically means taking the corners of your lips up to your ears. Those of you that might have forgotten, Midlands is so dreary, yeah? Yeah. So take the corners of your lips all the way up to your ears, deep smile, and open up your chest from a place of gratitude. We're going to call the Gurmantar. We're going to vibrate upon the Gurmantar together as one. Vaheguru. Sare jopo ji. Vaheguru. Vaheguru. We go back now to the time of Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj. They are constructing what would go on to become the greatest kitchen in the entire world. They would be constructing the foundations of Sri Harmandir Sahib, that place where people can come from across the world. They can sit, they can break bread, they can fill their stomachs with that food of the Guru, that langar that never runs out. And they are also constructing that place where the Kirtan would resound for 500 years to this day. For 400 years to this day, Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj is constructing that foundation. And their relation comes from their village back in what we would now call Lahore. Sahari Mal, their cousin, they come and they say, listen, you're my cousin, my son is getting married, and I request that you should come back with me from this place of Amritsar, that you come back with me and leave this place and come and accompany me, that you can oversee and arrange and give your blessings at the wedding of your nephew. And Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj, as they are constructing the Sarovar, as they are undertaking that construction, they give various reasons why they can't leave and just go from this place to Lahore. They say, look, if I come with you, all of the Sangat that come, all of the Sangat that are with me, they're going to follow me. And it will be a great weight for you to have to show the level of respect to the Sangat that are going to come. Kafi Sangat hona hai, and it's going to be very difficult for you to serve all the Sangat and give them that sadkar, given how much respect we show the Sangat. The other thing is, what we're doing here, you just see construction, but what's going to take place here is going to be very important. And they give a number of other reasons, but they say, look, I can't go So Hari Mal, they say, look, if you can't go, then typically what would happen is if a person couldn't attend a family relations event, you would send someone from your house as your family representative. So they turn and they say to Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they say, you've got three sons. Send one of your sons that they should come in your stead, that they should go in your stead, and they can represent the family at the wedding. So Maharaj sees this opportunity to give a Sikhya, and they say to their eldest son, they call their sons forward, and they say to their eldest son, his name was Prithi Chand. And when you go to the Tika, Gurbani and Gurmantar, they speak of Prithi Chand, they speak of their character. I'll let you can read about that. Suffice to say that in our itihas it's recorded that Prithi Chand, they're in the same house of the Guru, but they're not, we can say, of the same light. They don't have the same qualities of Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, putting it respectfully, right? So Maharaj says to Prithi Chand, I'd like you to go to this wedding and I would like you to oversee the affairs. Prithi Chand, they're so concerned about agitating their position in the house that they should, through their own manipulations, they should receive the Guru Gaddi. They're like, look, we don't want to leave Amritsar. We want to stay in your face. We want to be around this place because we're hoping to receive the Guru Gaddi. And if I leave here, someone else might slip into that place. So Prithi Chand's mindset is about chanchal. They're trying to use their mind to make spiritual progress. We'll know from our own efforts, so when we're trying our best with our minds, how far does it get us? But Prithi Chand is the earliest example of sometimes you've got to let go and give up your ego. But Prithi Chand wasn't ready to learn that lesson just yet. So Prithi Chand said, look, Maharaj, I'm so important. I'm involved in collecting money, the administration. If you ask somebody else, I'm very important. This place can't do without me. Very important lesson we learn from Prithi Chand, right? We think of ourselves as so instrumental in the things that are taking place. And I saw something on socials I thought was really interesting. This is particularly for those that are in vocation, that are at work, that are dedicating themselves 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. That if anything would happen to you today, and you'd get, God forbid, you get diagnosed in a negative way, and next week you're not at work, no matter how instrumental you might think you are, within a week there'll be an advert out for your job to be replaced. Within a few weeks, someone will be attempting to fulfill your role, maybe not as perfectly as you could. Within a few months, your absence will no longer be missed, right? And it's really important we understand that whilst we're here to provide for our families, we can't confuse our obligation to provide sustenance, our obligation to work in this world, to make progress in this world. We can't confuse that with some sort of a mistaken ideology that without me, nothing will happen. Those are two very, very different things that get conflated, and our life becomes, our dharam becomes about how we're working, right? How many times we go to funerals, not in a dharmic circle, but you go to funerals, you might go to a mate, a college or whatever, you might go to someone whose parents have passed away, and they'll say, he was a good man, he worked hard all his life. You've all heard a phrase like that before, right? Somewhere along the line, how hard you work has become determinative of whether you're a dharmic person. He was a good man, separate thing. That's about virtue, right? He worked hard, right? In other words, from a Sikhi perspective, I'm not saying we shouldn't work hard, but don't think for a second that your dharam, is your vocation. And a lot of people get wrapped up in this. They get defined by their work. How do we introduce ourselves? Many years ago, I'd introduce myself at lectures. I go, look, you tell them about yourself. I go, my name's Amandeep Singh. I'm a lawyer. How can that really be how I want myself defined as? That's nowhere near as important to me as what we're really here to learn about, who we really are inside, right? So Prithi Chand gives us this Sikhya that he says to Maharaj, I'm very important, I'm a very big man. Very big things happen because of my presence here, but you don't watch that, send somebody else. Yeah? And Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they're like, tu baitha raha, basically. In their mind, they're seeing this is a play that's being played out. They turn to their second son, Mahadev. Mahadev, Gyani Hari Singh Ji, they write about them and they say they're like a renunciate. They're completely detached from this world. Again, different teaching we get from Mahadev. Mahadev is like, look, Kera Taya, which uncle? Bikera Vya, Bikera Lahore, because none of these things are real. This whole world is like an illusion. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to just sit down, I'm going to just do what I want to do. They were so detached from the world, they didn't recognize the geography, the society, the family connections. They were just like completely like mastana from the world. That's like the opposite end of the scale, right? And Sikhi always finds balance, right? So Mahadev, they've gone so far the other way that they don't recognize the red. What is the red of a Guru Sikh in a purest sense is to be within the Guru's hukum at all times, to be obedient to whatever the Guru wishes, right? ultimately the earth is about following the Guru's instruction, right? And they've gone so far the other way that the Guru's instruction it's beyond them to conceive or to follow. And that's where people get lost. They get lost to just in this mystical way, and then you hear about drugs and alcohol and things like this, and all sorts of confusing things take place, which we're not going to go into today, right? Maharaj turns to their youngest son. Their youngest son is Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. For the rest of this talk, we're going to refer to them as Arjan Dev, just so we don't confuse them with Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, but they're the Guru, right? So Arjan Dev, the youngest son, they're 15 years old at this time. And the way that they're described in our itihas, they're very beautiful. Their presence is so enamoring that just to look upon them brings you peace. Everyone's like, yo, Arjan Dev's in the house. It's like they had such a beautiful fragrance. And just to speak of them now, Lissara and Ruda, I see some of you smiling. So Arjan Dev Ji was that fragrance of the Guru. They were that obedient one that had completely become one with the Guru's Sikhya. So Arjan Dev, they get approached by their father. And their father says, look, I need you to go to Lahore and I need you to oversee the wedding and undertake prachar, stay there and do this. And Arjan Dev Ji, they're not faltering, but you can see in their reaction, it's like they're taking a shot to their ribs, yeah? And they're like, look, Maharaj, I live to fulfill your hukum, but how can I be happy about being away from you? Like, you put me between two fading places, right? I must always obey your hukum, right? But to be away from you is a punishment for me. It's like a difficulty for me. But if that ultimately is your desire, then so it shall be that's what I will do, right? So what Sikhya is this for us, my people? In this age, this sort of woke culture, right? Which I think we should give a lot of credence to. A lot of well-being comes from this. A lot of understanding about sympathy and empathy, which has been lost in a world that's so selfish. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, man. And don't let the culture around you, which is so sympathetic to put an arm around you and protect you, yeah, that they'll even protect you from you doing what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to do it, man. You got to go to a place you don't want to go, and you got to do the work, right? And Guru Arjan Dev Ji is giving this Sikhya. They're saying, look, I don't really want to go. I've got no business doing this. But if that's what I've got to go to do to fulfill what I've got to achieve, sometimes you've got to do that. And if you have the courage to do that, you'll find that joy is just beyond having the courage to face your fear. We live in an age where facing your fears is almost becoming toxic. We live in an age where if you challenge yourself to a point where you're going to be in an uncomfortable place, people are saying it's toxic to do that. And that's not that's not liberation. Having the courage to step through a fire and go, look, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do what I have to do. And even if it takes you through a dark place to get to a bright place, don't let people turn you around and say that that's what you shouldn't be doing. Because people will have their own fears and their own projections, and sometimes their insecurities will mean that they don't want to see you do that, because how does that make you feel about your own shortcomings? It's a difficult thing to bear, right? That the man with your arm around your shoulders say, look, it's okay, don't do that. Just sit here and suffer in this place rather than go through a dark place to come to a light place. Difficult thing to bear, that might not be what you need, right? But those things which are worth the most value need to be struggled for. Nelson Mandela famously said, without struggle there is no progress. So have a little bit of man. Sikhi is not always easy. That doesn't mean that it is wrong. Sikhi is not always easy, but sometimes the most beautiful things you've got to fight for, right? Whether that means having hard conversations at home with your parents as you keep at the start, whether that means having to explain to teachers at school why you're now carrying a weapon on your waist, yeah? Sometimes you've got to do what we've got to do, right? And don't let the culture around you tell you otherwise. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj gives us this Sikhya, saying, Maharaj, look, I never want to be away from you, but if that's your wish, then that's your hukum, then so it will be that I'm going to go to Lahore. They say, undertake the wedding and do prachar of good Sikhi. So go to the Dharam Sal at my village in Penda Chunnamundi, where Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj was avatar in this world, and do not return until I call for you. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, they listen to the Guru's hukum. and they follow the Guru's hukum, and the importance of sunanan, the importance of listening, and the importance of mananan cannot be overstated. Just to give you an understanding, in an educational, in a Western understanding, 20% of Japji Sahib the Part, talk to us about the importance of suning, about listening, about money, about belief, about following. So if you think about that Brahm Gyan, that Bani which is here to give us Brahm Gyan, 20% of Japji Sahib is just telling us about this importance of just listening. And if you could just listen to the Guru, listening meaning you open up your heart and you put aside your own you empty out your cup, as they say, and you come before the Guru, so look, fill that cup with your Gyan, innit? And Manan, and to actually follow that through. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they set out. And they go from Amritsar, which is in what we would now call Punjab in India, now as has now been divided. And they travel to Lahore and they oversee the wedding celebrations, which are about a week. And after the wedding celebrations, they start undertaking Gurmat Prachar. They start doing Gur Sikhi Prachar with the Sangat in Lahore. So I want you to visualize this and keep this in your minds, So you guys on the right, you guys are Lahore. Everybody say Lahore. Lahore. And you guys are Amritsar. Everybody say Lahore, Amritsar. Amritsar. So I'll remember that where you guys are for the rest of this presentation is very important, geographically, physically, I want you to hold on to this in your mind. So what you guys are together? Lahore. Who got that wrong? I genuinely expected one person to get, I have such a low opinion of the Midlands. I expected, more mistakes. I'm actually surprised it was just one solo voice. So Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they send Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Arjan Dev Ji they're now in Lahore and they're doing Gurmat Prachar. And the Sangat in Lahore are buzzing. They're like, yo, Arjan Dev Ji is here. So they're doing their work, they're undertaking their karaj, and in the evenings, they're coming and listening to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, who are telling the Sakhiya of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. They're telling the itihas of Bhai Lehna Ji, Guru Angad Dev Ji, how they met. All these beautiful teachings are being given out. They're speaking of the beauty of Mata Kivi Ji in the langar, and the way that they would serve, even though she was the royal queen of the house of the Guru, how she would serve that langar. Balavanda Kivi Nek Jan Jis Bahuti Chau Patarali. They speak about the qualities of the Guru's house. Everyone's in complete astonishment as their minds are being blown and they're falling deeply in love with Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. But Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, their mind, whilst they're blessed to be in the Sangat, whilst they're feeling so alive to be in the Sangat, a part of them is just wishing that they were somewhere else. They wish that they were in Amritsar with the Guru, right? So that distance is quite far. That task, that undertaking is one that will pull your heartstrings. You can't imagine how far that distance was beyond the current forms of transportation, right? And so after a while of separation, Arjan Dev Ji, they're like, I want to go back. But just a quick point, can they go back? Because what was that last request of Guru Ramdas Ji? What did they say? Hands up, anyone?
I will call you.
Huh?
I will call you.
You do not return until I call for you, right? So Arjan Dev Ji, they're like, I can't go back. I miss my Guru. But what is there for me to do? So what do? What can they do? They miss their Guru, right? They write a love letter. In the truest sense. And me and my brother, we were talking about this. There's an innocence to these words that have been corrupted. Why would a love letter be anything contentious? I was thinking about using these words, love letter. But when we speak about it in the truest sense of the word, it's a letter of love, right? Arjan Dev Ji, they miss their Guru, they miss their father. And if they're going to record that in the language to be communicated, wouldn't that be a letter of love? What would be a truer example of a love letter, right? So Arjan Dev Ji, what they do is they write a letter and they send that letter with a messenger and they say, go and give this to my Satguru. And this letter, Mera manaloche gurdarsana tai bilab kare chatrik ki nyai Trekana utre sant na ave bin darsan sant pyare jiyo ho koli jiyo kol kumai gurdarsana sant pyare jiyo rahao. Just because of the time constraints, we're going to just focus on this one bhangti, these two bhangti. Maharaj says, Mera man loche, because my mind, Lord Daya, I'm longing to have your darshan. Meaning, I miss you, man. Just writing it in plain terms. They're speaking to the Guru. Baljit Singh spoke about it at that camp. We're here to have a reunion of that camp. They spoke about how you can do ardas just by speaking to your Guru. You haven't got to necessarily stand in the way that the Gyani Ji does that ardas. That is an ardas. That is a perfect ardas. There's also a perfect ardas that you can do within you as well. When you just speak to the Guru, say, yo Maharaj, I miss you, man. Right? They say, Mera manaloche Guru Darshan tai bilab kare chatrik ki nai. And they use a metaphor. The chatrik is a type of bird. A really beautiful bird. The chatrik bird is known in English as the rain bird. The nature of this bird is that it drinks only during the monsoon rain. It turns its head when the rain falls. It drinks that rain while it's actually in the air. It doesn't land and drink from a stream like the way you'd think a normal bird would. Its nature is to really therefore seek out that monsoon rain. It's thirsty for that rain that is so seldom coming that when it comes it wants to take all that drink. So Maharaj is using that metaphor. So just as that monsoon rain bird is longing for the monsoon rain which only comes in that right season, I'm longing for your darshan in the same way that bird's thirst will be quenched by the rain. They use this beautiful example and they say, when am I going to see you again? They go on to say, I'm a sacrifice. I'll sacrifice myself just for having a chance to have your darshan. And they send a letter with a messenger. The messenger takes the letter and is given instructions to go and give this, when you go back to Amritsar, to give this to Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj. When the messenger gets close to Amritsar Sahib, Prithi Chand, the eldest son, they see that this messenger is like covered in dirt. And Prithi Chand in his mind, in the Dika is written, is like he's got such a paranoid mindset. He thinks this person's from out of town, maybe he's come from Lahore. He puts it together and he intercepts the messenger. He takes from him the information, goes, who are you, where have you come from? When it becomes apparent that he's got a letter from his youngest brother to be given to his father, he says, you give it to me, you can be on your way, I'll give it to Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj himself. Here's something really beautiful. It's written in our Itihas that when Prithi Chand reads a letter, he reads that letter and he immediately is taken by fear. He goes, this is written as if it was written by the Guru themselves. Gani Hari Singh Ji, they say, the way that this letter is written, the language infused in this letter, it's like Guru Ramdas Ji has written this letter. Because that jot is the same, right? Even to those that would look at it from a foreign perspective, they can only see one Guru. Next time you go sit before the Guru and you hear the Sangat say, you hear the Katha vibrate that this is the same as Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, Prithi Chand is telling us that when they're reading the words of Arjan Dev, all they can hear is the voice of Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj. Akho Satanam Sri. So they're taken by fear that if my Guru reads this letter, he's going to remember Arjan Dev. At the moment he's far from his mind, right? Because Guru Ramdas hasn't seen them. That's why they've not called for them. Yeah. I don't want him to remember Arjan Dev. So let's just keep this between me and myself and not give it. So he puts it in his pocket and he sends the messenger away. And so Arjan Dev Ji's letter doesn't reach the Guru. Then Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they're undertaking the seva with which they've been availed, and the construction is continuing. And after a while, Arjan Dev Ji, that longing is starting to grow even more. They're suffering from being so far away from the Guru. That pain of separation starts to grow. So what do? They're reduced to the only thing that they can do, right? Which is to write another letter. And in this second letter, what do they write? They say, Tera mukha suhava jio sehaj to napani chirho dekhe saring pani tanso des jahan tun vasya mere sajan meet marare jiyo. You know the panktiya. They say, Tera mukh suhava, your face is so beautiful, just to look upon your face would bring peace to me. And I find that so relatable, man. We're so far away from camp, which is why I wanted to share this with you guys. That was like, we look back on those memories of being in the darbar. It was cold outside, and then the heaters are on, and then you go into the langar hall, and that steamy, wonderful langar that the Sevadar have made, and then you look up, and there's beautiful, smiling faces serving you. You go back to your room, and it's like, Tera muksuhava, like the Sangat, man. I just wish I could be in that place again. Which is why so many of you can relate to being in that camp. But Guru Maharaj is taking it to a higher step. They're talking about the Guru, and they're saying, just to look upon your face brings me peace in my mind. If I could just look upon your face, Tera mukh suhava is so beautiful. Jio sehaj, I'll have sehaj within me. And the language of Gurbani is so intuitive. You may not even know what it means, but the vibration of the Shabad itself will bring that character to you. If you just test this right now, if you sit up straight and say the word Sehaj, 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 you'll know intuitively that it means a peace within. Gurbani is so beautiful, man. It is not just a language of this world, it is the language of our soul. It is our living Guru. Akho Vaheguru. So Maharaj, they send this letter, they say, Tanso Des Jahatun Vasya. Listen to the innocence of this. It's just by chance I was talking to my brother about innocence today, yeah? This is Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. They are the one that has contributed the most Shabads to Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, yeah? What do they say? They say something so innocent. They say, Tanso Des Jahatun Vasya Mere Sajan Meet Marare Jiyo. They say that land where you're walking is blessed, because you're happening to place your feet upon it. Now, why do I say this is innocent? I remember this is my personal relation with the Shabad, yeah? I remember when I was a young boy, my dad would go away on business trips. He would go to faraway places that sounded really exotic. He'd be going to like Thailand, or he'd be going to Malaysia. He would export cars from the East End of London, and so he'd have to go and travel. And I was so attached to my dad when I was younger. I was totally in love with him that I would when he would come into the room, I would sit on his lap. I would want to be even apart from him, even for a minute. He was like my hero. And so when he would go, I would cry when I was young. And I would be so sad. And when I would hear these names like Malaysia or Thailand or Japan, I'd be like, oh man, Malaysia's so lucky, man. My dad is there. I imagine the country like heaving like a fairground. Like, hey, Jagdish bhai, aajate. But obviously the guy at immigration didn't care that my dad, he just like stamped the passport and said go through. But in my mind, because he was my everything, I just was like, that place where I literally would think, oh, Malaysia's lucky to have you. They better appreciate the fact that you're there. Because there's an innocence that comes with being a child, right? Now, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they're the greatest that contribute towards Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Their depths of knowledge are unparalleled. We can't even understand the depth of knowledge of Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. But look at the innocence. Don't think, you have to look at this gund that is sent or that is available on the internet, to put you on the same par as other people. Don't think that you need to watch the gund to obtain knowledge. Because Guru Arjan Dev Ji is given as an example, that Guru that gives us so much Shabad that we will never find the end, we'll never find the end to the ocean, right? But look at the innocence. Don't think for a second you have an obligation to lose your innocence to meet the world's expectations that you have knowledge. There are certain things that you just don't need to know, man. We're not taught that. There's just certain crap that you haven't got to fill yourself with. And there's a Bhakti, again, you can't make this stuff up. I was just playing with this yesterday with Jagmeet Singh and Buljit Bhaji on the phone a couple of days ago. Bhagat Farid Ji, they say, Je jana soho nandara ta thora man kari. Thank you, Prof. That if I knew that my husband Lord was going to be so innocent, maybe I'd have kept a bit of myself humble. Well, Maharaj is saying that this is my interpretation of that, is when we get older, we get into a relationship, we get married, and if you knew the beauty of who you were going to be in a partnership with, you'd have kept a part of yourself clean for that person. And you wouldn't feel so guilty in that joining. That person's looking at you from a place of innocence, but where they look to isn't innocent. Who they're looking at isn't innocent. And who wants to be that person, man? Like, who wants to be that person because of the sake of validating yourself in a community that ain't even around when you get married, or a friendship circle that ain't even around? Why give yourself up? And Maharaj is saying, Vijay Jana, if I knew how innocent my husband Lord was going to be, meaning in this context, husband or wife, right? I would never have made myself so beyond innocence. I would have never stripped myself willingly of my own innocence. Perchance, I'd meet some worldly expectation of validation. It's such a nonsense, man, that we throw away that which is priceless. Yeah, just to become able to sit with a grimy person in a grimy crowd and say, I'm one of you. Don't be one of them, man. Choose to be you. Sounds so obvious in the Sangha, right? So, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they send this letter, they say, Tanso Des Jahatun Vasya, that most knowledgeable of knowledgeable, that ocean of endless gyan, teach us the meaning of innocence. Tanso Des Jahatun Vasya, because that place where you're walking is blessed. Because we have to remind ourselves, geographically, Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji, where are they? They are in Lahore. And where do they wish to be? Amritsar. Lahore is weak, by the way. They are in Lahore. And where do they wish to be? Amritsar. So they say Tanso Des, that land of Amritsar is blessed. Why? Because you walk there. Tanso Des Jahatun Vasya, Mere Sajan Meet. Oh my beloved, that land is blessed. They send that letter, and much in the same way as the first letter, that letter is stolen away by Prithi Chand, who intercepts them and takes that letter away. And now Arjan Dev Ji is written in our Itihas. They're now, as time is passing, they're becoming, that pain of separation is growing so much. They're like consumed by this pain. It's written in our Itihas, that beauty, that innocence drives them. They climb atop the Koti in Pend Chunamundi. They're looking out across the flat plains of the Punjab, as it was all one Punjab then, right? They're looking out across the flat plains of the land. They're trying to see, is anybody coming to see me? Is anybody coming to receive me? They would walk to the edge of the city limits of Lahore. They would walk to the edge of the city limits of Lahore, and they'd be like, I can't take one step further out. Is there anybody approaching this land? I can't disrespect my Guru. So I'll stand on the edge of the city and I'll look out, but I won't go any further because of the red of my Guru, right? So they would do this, and what can they do? What can they do but to make their ardasa plainly clear? So what do? They write a third letter. Bhi ek kari na milte ta kal juk hota hun kad miliya priya mohiren na vihave neend na aave. You know the Shabad, my people. Yeah. You see, sometimes we're not here to learn, we're here to remember. Sometimes we're not here to learn, we're here to remember. Isn't that what Simran actually means, to be in a state of remembrance, right? So Maharaj, they write this third letter. Ek kari na milte, they say a kari. So kari is a Punjabi period of time. Don't ask me how this is worked out, but it's from the research I've done, it's 22 to 24 minutes. Go figure it out and let me know when you know the answer as to why. But kari is that. Maharaj said, ek kari na milte, to be away from you just for one kari. Yeah? Is to be away from you for the whole expanse of Kaljug. So Kaljug, in astronomical terms, is 432,000 years. Very interesting, actually. So Kaljug is 432,000 years long. Maharaj is saying, just to be away from you for one kari, it's like being away from you for 432,000 years. What Maharaj is talking to, what are they speaking of? They're speaking of the theory of relativity that we would actually say Einstein is giving to us in the 1940s, 1950s, right? The idea of relativity is that time is not constant, that time flows fast or slow dependent upon your experience. So if you're sitting there and you put your hand on a stove and you burn your hand on a hot pan, those few seconds will feel like eternity, right? It will feel like forever. At the same time, if you're sitting at home and you're watching Lord of the Rings, you can look in a minute and you're on the end of the episode 3 hours later, and it's like hasn't even passed in 1 second. So time is not constant. So Guru Arjan Dev Ji is speaking of this theory of relativity hundreds of years before it was equated to the West. But Kerala, we can say that Maharaj is actually teaching us about love. We can put science aside. They say, Hun kad miliya priya tot bhagavanta. When am I going to see you again? They send this third letter. They say to their Guru, they say to the messenger, this letter is to be given to none other than Sri Guru Ram Das Ji themselves. They mark the letter third of 3. And they say to the messenger, this letter must go into only the hands of the Guru. And they send that letter. When the messenger gets to Amritsar, when the messenger gets to Amritsar, They see Prithi Chand, they wait for Prithi Chand to leave, and they run straight up to Guru Ramdas Ji, who's actually in the Parakrama of Darbar Sahib at that time. And they do Matha Tek, and they pass the letter to Sri Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj. They open the letter, and obviously they remember that one that they've forgotten, right? It all become very clear very quickly. They read the letter of love, they see that it's marked 3rd of 3, and they read the letter, they see the beauty of the words of that one who is ever committed to the Guru's hukum. They're so agyakari, they're so like disciplined and following the Guru's instruction, who hasn't wavered. Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they say, go get my son. And they send Baba Buddha Ji, they send Bhai Gurdas Ji, they send eminent scholars, and that carriage would have gone from to Lahore. They send them all the way from Amritsar. And can you imagine Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj? They're atop the Koti, Pind, Chunamundi. They're looking out across the flat plains, and they can just see the dust being unsettled in the distance. And is that really dust being unsettled? Is some convoy coming this way? This place that nobody is coming to? For why would anybody go to anywhere other than Amritsar, that place which is bounding? Tanso Des, blessed is that land, right? Why would wait a minute, I recognize that person. And they run downstairs, and they run, and they give their mama, Bhai Gurdas Ji is their mama, right? They give them a big embrace. Baba Buddha Ji is there, the greatest Gyani that will ever walk on this earth. They say, your dad come. Your dad has sent us to come and receive you, to bring you back. Arjan Dev Ji is taken with those great Guru Sikhs, and they travel back from Lahore to Amritsar. They travel all the way back from Lahore to Amritsar. And the way that it's described in our Itihas, that when Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, when they see Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they're crying tears, and they give them an embrace. Like, Dad, I miss you so much, Satguru Ji, right? I feel like I have been away from camp for so long. I feel like I have been in the world away from you for so long. I remember how it was when I was with you in camp, and everything just seemed so tight and cushy and lovely. And I've been away from you, but now I'm back. Thank you, Maharaj, for bringing me back into your embrace. And Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they are, the way that I picture it in my mind, they're putting their hands on the sides of the shoulders of their son, because it's been how long now? How long do you think that Arjan Dev Ji stayed the course? How long do you think Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj stayed the course in Lahore? How long do you think this was? And in weeks? How long do you think they were away?
52 weeks.
Come on, let's be sensible. This Sakhi has been played out in a few moments, but how long do you think this was our history? How long? Have a guess.
1 year.
3 years. 3 years Arjan Dev Ji looked atop Penda Chunamundi as they would undertake the seva of doing the Katha to the Sangat. They would look, where is my Satguru? Are they going to come for me? 1,000 days has ended. 1,000 days have passed, and Arjan Dev Ji remains steadfast in the hukum of the Guru. We ther garbe so harjan pyare, Satguru tumre. Therkar, meaning be strong, man. Have a little bit of resolve. But I've got to do what I've got to do. I've got to stay the course. But Guru's told me to do something. I'll take some shots along the way, but I know who I need to be. Yeah? I know what I have to do, right? And some of you have had a chance to waver, and now you're like, how could I possibly thinking about wavering? Yeah? Because we know that after 1,000 days, my Sadguru will call you back. And listen to this. Where as we come to the end of this vichar, listen very carefully. This is my favourite part of the Sakhi now, right? Guru Ramdas Ji, they got their hands on the shoulders of Guru Ramdas, of their son. They're like, you've gone from a boy to a man now. 15 to 18 is big time. It's a big change. It's a very important time. They've probably gone from having very short, maybe a dari, maybe none of their face, no hair on their face. Now they've got like a lamba dara. And they say, do you understand? Gallo, this is my interpretation of the way this then plays out. They go, do you understand? And Arjan Dev Ji, in and amongst the tears of Bairag, say, I understand, Pitaji, Satguru Ji, main samjhda. I understand. Go, if you understand, write me a 4th letter now. Write me one more. Tusi mainu ek aur chithi bhej do. And what happens? Guru Arjan Dev Ji is that one who is Agyakari. They write that chitti, and what is in this chitti, stay very close with me now as we just finish up this vichar. What is in this last letter? They say, Pag hua Gur Sant Milaya Prabh. My friends, listen very carefully. I'm so excited to share this with you because really I'm just sharing it with myself and you guys are in on this, yeah? They say, Pag hua. They say, Maharaj, you asking me, do I understand? I truly understand. Be great good fortune has befallen me. Pag hua, great good fortune. Pag is like really good luck, yeah? Real good luck. Maharaj says, Guru Arjan Dev Ji says, they say, Pag hua Gur Sant Malaya. I'm so fortunate that I've had the Sangat of the Guru. That makes sense, right? Bhai Gurdas Ji, Baba Buddha Ji have come to meet them. But then they say something that really teach us what the value of Sikhi is. They say, Prabha Abhinasi Kar Meh Paya. They say, I realized that your home is within me. But don't think for a second that you was in Lahore even for one day. You think you were separate from me while I was in Amritsar, says the Guru? Look back on those days when you were in Lahore suffering. You look back, you realize that I was with you every single moment. You might think you're in Lahore. You might think that the Guru is in Amritsar. And you might say, Tanso Desh Chahatun Vasya. But my friends, if you have the Guru's Nishani, if you have the Guru's gift, if you have the Guru's Roop, if you have the Guru's Shabad, because the Shabad is the Guru, right? Bani Guru, Guru hai. That if you're lucky enough to have the Sri Japji Sahib the part memorized within your own mind, that you can vibrate upon that. Keh lo, tusi mool mantra da part tusi jap bhi kar sakde ya. Even if you could just have the mool mantra with your in your company, I say just. Now, I'm just using that as an example, as a Shabad that we can easily memorize. Don't even think for a second that you are in Lahore. You're never in Lahore, because if you're the Guru's Sikh, you're always in Amritsar. It's just whether we have the eyes to see. Maharaj says, Jo man dekhe paramanat aisa, jaisi mansa, tesi dasa. If you look into your days and see yourself absent from the Guru's house, then you'll find that you feel like you're in Lahore. Jaisi Mansa, if your mind is filled with thoughts, everything, but absent the Guru's Itihas, Gurbani, you'll find yourself in Lahore. Jaisi Mansa, whatever your thoughts are, Tesi Dasa, that's going to be your reality. We can blame the Guru, or we can have a little bit of man, a little bit of self-respect, yeah, and actually take responsibility for how we feel. And again, a lot of us don't want to do that, man, because we want to outsource the way that we feel. We want to outsource our condition to our circumstance. I'll tell you one thing, man, short term, it might feel really good. As you say, if it wasn't for my parents who didn't bring me up in Sikhi, if it wasn't for my friendship circle that drink alcohol every Friday, they drag me out, whatever it is we're doing, yeah, it's very easy to do that, right? But I think about it this way. We can either suffer with a good excuse, and some of these are really good excuses, right? Or we can just be happy, man. We can either suffer in Lahore, or we can realize that we're in Amritsar. It's a little bit of hard work we've got to do a bit of work, right? But you'll be your own witness right now. Be what's happened here right now. No one's given, nothing physically has been given, right? We've just taken our mind from here to Punjab. We've gone back a few hundred years. We've put our dhyan on the Guru, yeah? And I'll ask you to be your own witnesses. Be completely honest right now. And we're not here to do anyone any favors. We're not here for any freebies, right? Only if it's sincerely true. Put your hands up if you feel closer to Guru Sahib than you did an hour ago. Genuinely. No elbows, my people. No elbows, my people. Yo, East London, you're letting me down. You're just with me, man. We know, but no elbows. Okay, so the reason that we asked this, it seems like 2 hours ago we said the same thing, right? What we're trying to show is that when we come into the Sangat, this is not just for fun. We can physically change our circumstance. We can physically change our state by going to the Guru. And rather than being told that, you can just recognize that yourself. So I'll ask you again, genuinely, who feels genuinely closer, or let me put it a different way, who feels less far from when they were from the Guru an hour ago? See, then that means that's terrifying, that we're responsible for how we feel, right? What we choose to walk towards, who we choose to sit with, what we choose to listen to is a direct consequence of how we're going to feel. And that's terrifying because we've been taught, by people that have got our best interests at heart, that it's someone else's fault, that you deserve to feel that way. Come here, let me give you a hug. If that had happened to me, I'd be living in misery too, right? And I say that that's just not true. That's not what our Guru says. Our Guru says, Jo main kiya, so main paya, dos na dije avarjana. We can't necessarily change what's happening to us, what's happened to us, what's been inflicted on us. Those are our circumstances. But we can choose where we're going to move from that. We can choose if we want to stay in Lahore, where we're going to write those letters of love, whether we're going to direct our minds to the Guru, that the Guru then will look upon our letters and say, bring my child home. And then the Guru will, when they put their arm around you, they'll say, what will they say? They say, Pag hoa Guru Sant Malaya, Prabha Abhinasi Karame Paya. They say that, don't even think for a second that you were ever on your own. You were always in my house, and my house was always a home that I made inside you in the first place. I'm not sure, in Sikhi circles, we're allowed to have favourite panktiya. Bulji, are we allowed to have higher panktiya than lower panktiya in our?
I think we'll stick to the first way you termed it. Favourite.
Favourite, okay. Okay. Well, this for me, I'm going to say in a controversial, this is for me is top draw. Bhag hoa Guru Sant Malaya, it means it doesn't matter wherever you are, be the Guru is with you, be Guru mere sangha sada hai nala. That the Guru is saying that I am always sada. Sada meaning forever at hand. And I just love that, man. The idea that actually we can look back on our worst days since camp, and if we had the knowledge, and it was just the Guru, when I say knowledge, I don't mean like pop quiz hotshot. I mean, if we have the Guru's gyan, if we have the Guru's Sikhya in our days, that those days going forward won't be as dark. And I think that's kind of exciting, right? That when next week we might feel a little bit distant, I wish I was back at camp with my brothers, I wish I was back at camp with my sisters. You can go, yo, actually, you know what, I've been here before. But I know actually that when Guru Arjan Dev Ji was in Lahore for 1,000 days, that the Guru looked them in the eyes and said, write me a fourth letter. That letter is part of many Guru Sikhs Nityanem every day. So just to finish off the itihas, as we come to the end of this journey together, a time would come when the Guru Gaddi would go to Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, just at that time, in fact, when they wrote that fourth letter. And a time later would come when Sheme Pacha, Miri Piri de Malak, Sadguru, Sri Guru, Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, they would sit on the takht. And the Sangat would come to Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, and they say, Maharaj, we are in jang now, we're at war. Can you give us a gift for our bhakti? Give us something. Give us something that will give us the ability to have the shakti, as if we had time to sit down for hours and do bhakti the way that we did in earlier times. Because we're at jang now. We're holding dal. We've got a shield on one hand. We've got Gurbani on the other. We don't have the opportunities to sit for hours upon end with our eyes closed. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, they say, bring me those 4 letters that Guru Arjan Dev Ji wrote to Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj. Bring me those letters that took Lahore out of one's life as they were taken to Amritsar forever, for infinity. And those letters were brought together, and Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji would join with those letters the 7 Shabads of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, and that would become a Bani that is now central to many Guru Sikhs Nityanem every single day. Anybody know the name of the Bani? Ooh. Is that like Midlands talk or something? Come on. Anybody know the name of the Shabbat? I'm going to get beaten up. I'm going way too good. Lads, like, listen, enough Midlands jokes, yeah? I'm seeing a few white knuckles coming out. That is the Bani of Shabad Hazare. Shabad Hazare, meaning that Shabad, that if you recite with Sharda, has the Shakti of 1,000 Shabads. Guru Har Gobind Sahib said, you want a Bani that will give you that gift? You want a gift now? And they would draw forth these Shabads and join them and give them as a gift to the Khalsa. They were the Khalsa then, if they weren't in by name, but they were the pure ones, right? And they would say this Shabad, that if you vibrate upon this Shabad, if you recite this as part of your daily routine from a place of love, it's the Shakti as if you had sat down for hours and recited 1,000 Shabads. And a gift. Who's thinking about adding Shabad Hazare to their nickname? Yeah. Who's like, yo, I was doing it but I didn't know. Who's recited Shabad Hazare but didn't know the itihas, didn't know that history before? History is a gift, isn't it? So my brothers and sisters, my friends, what I wanted to share with you today, going back, keeping it functional, and we're right on time, timing wise, is what I wanted to share with you is this, that when those days fall upon us that we don't feel right, and we have days that aren't like that, right? I have days like that, yeah. Baljit Baji is very open about the fact that sometimes he has pretty dark days. I think if anyone's honest with you, we've all faced harsher days than not, right? I'm not saying that every day is going to be rosy, but when that day comes, you can smile at that day and go, oi, it might feel like, yeah, an eternity of pain, but I'm away from my Guru just for this day, this 24 minutes, yeah? But I know it's going to pass. Because everything in this world, all of these pains that we get caught up in, think the reason they're so painful is we think they're forever. But the Guru says, and the final thing I want to share with you on this, is Maharaj says, Jo upjo, whatever's born into this world, so business will come to an end. Baro aaj ke kal, either today or tomorrow, it will pass. So don't make the mistake of thinking that your life situation is your life. It's not, man. And how many episodes of tears have passed? You look back on those situations and you laugh, you chuckle. Like, why was I even caught up in that? You know? And that's where we live. We somehow keep ourselves in Lahore. We suffer our own hands by keeping ourselves there. If we just let go and take a step back, hang about, it's just a stop on the train line. I want to go through many stops to get to where I've got to go, right? I might be here for just 30 seconds while the doors are open, but eventually they're going to close and we're going to move on, right? So next time you get camp blues, let them be a smile on your face. Let them be a smile on your face as you realise, actually, I'm just in Lahore for a little bit, but actually, even Lahore ain't too bad, because my Guru is with me. So we're going to finish up with just reciting the Gurmantar 5 times together. And from a place of Shukrana, Yo Maharaj, I've weathered some pretty sad days being sad. There might be some more in the future, but do you know what? Even if they come, at least I now know that you're with me. How much harsher can they be in the knowledge that we've now received, Hana, from the Guru's grace? So if your back's up straight, that smile now should flow a little bit more freely. Vahe Guru, Vahe Guru, Vahe Guru, Vahe Guru. For me personally, as I stand before you, we're in the Guru Ghar, let's have it straight. I'm not here, I've not travelled here to lie or deceive myself or yourselves, right? You are Bhai Gurdasi. The Sangat is Baba Buddha Ji, in the sense that it's the Sangat that connects us to the Guru, right? Just as the Sangat in the form of Baba Buddha Ji and Bhai Gurdasi came and they took Arjan Dev Ji and they brought them back into the Charan of the Guru, right? We're so lucky to be here, man. And we're going to finish up then with the same vichar that we did at the beginning, which is, if you're lucky enough to be in the Sangat, you could be anywhere right now. Could be anywhere doing anything. Always come into the Sangat from a place of Shukrana. You might come here with calamities at home, you might have left like all sorts of situations and you feel like you're here out of obligation. We might think that we're here to do a task. But never ever get caught up, Amandeep Singh, I'm just talking to myself here, never get caught up thinking that you're here to do something. You're not, man. You're here because you're lucky. Don't think you're here because you've got to make the langar, or because you're here because you've got to deliver a talk, yeah, or because you've got to record a talk or whatever. Don't even think for a second you're here for a task. You're not. You're here because you're lucky enough to be in the Sangat. And if you come from that place, you'll always receive so much more. Thank you, Sangat Ji. You're the Sangat of the Guru. I ask once again for your forgiveness. Be lekhe katha na shutiye kin kin pulanhar baksanhar baksle nanak ਪਾਰੇ ਉਤਾਰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.